What's going on, everyone? So I made a video the other day about Kel'el Ware and him potentially being drafted at 17. I talked about Zach Edey a little bit in that video, and there's people that want or are more in favor for Zach Edey over a Ware. And I talked about how I would take Ware. I think if Ware and Edey are both on the board, you take Ware all day. So I want to make this video kind of comparing the two and kind of going through the pros and cons of both a little more in depth. I talked about it in that previous video, but I want to kind of go more in depth and kind of dedicate a video on the comparison of the two. So both right off the bat, they're both true 7-footers, which is good. The Lakers need a center. So they're both positions of need. It's not like one's like 6'9" and the other one's 7'4". No, obviously Zach Edey is bigger. He's 7'4" with the 7'10" wingspan, which that by itself is just like, sounds like a made up number, right? But you look at a guy in Kel'el Ware, who he's a guy that is a true 7-footer. He has the athletic advantage and the athleticism compared to Zach Edey. Now, when you're looking at both of these guys, especially in today's modern NBA, to me, it boils down to who's more versatile and who has the better likelihood of not getting played off the court, right? And to me, that's Ware all day, right? Zach Edey, I believe, is a guy that would make a bigger impact immediately. I do think both guys are very capable of making an impact out the gate, right? But to me, Ware is a guy that I think would make an impact in the sense of like, Derek Lively from the Dallas Mavericks, where I think, he's kind of an 8-and-8 guy, something like that, right? But the beauty of Ware is his ability to stretch the floor. Where Zach Edey, he doesn't have really that ability to stretch the floor. He's closer to a traditional center than he is a modern center, where Ware is closer to a modern center than he is to a traditional center. So they're both kind of on the opposite sides of the spectrum, right? Like you got one that's more like low post, back to the basket, right? A zoo type player. And then you have another player who's closer to like a Derek Lively, athletic floor running big. You can put more actions. You can put in more sets, right? To me, Ware is the more versatile type of big man. He's also the guy that has the bigger upside. One is 20, one is 22, but it's not even the age gap. It's just, again, the athleticism and the type of play that Ware is able to provide compared to Zach Edey. Zach Edey is more limited in the sense of, again, he's more traditional. So he's a guy that you're basically dumping the ball down to and he's going to work, right? To me, where they kind of separate each other is on the defensive side in particular, right? Because especially come playoffs, matchups and exploitations become very important. And you see, even with a guy like Rudy Gobert, who he's a guy that was a four-time defensive, NBA champ, right? Or defensive champ, right? Like he's a guy that's won Defensive Player of the Year. That's the word I was looking for. Defensive Player of the Year 4 times. And yet he, at times, looked unplayable. I mean, Minnesota should have taken him out on numerous occasions and decided not to, right? Zach Edey is one of those guys that I fear would get played off the court and become a liability. Now, obviously, Zach Edey is a guy that, maybe he's just so good that you can't, right? Not comparing them skill set wise, but I'm talking about like, look at Jokic. Jokic is not a good defensive big man by any stretch, right? He gets exploited a lot. Or like Luka is just getting ran through in these playoffs. But they're so good and so talented that you need them. They have to stay on the court. You try to find ways and you mask Luka and you mask Kyrie or Jokic to the best of your ability, right? So you're trying to mask them, where maybe Zach Edey's just so dominant and a powerhouse and he's giving you, 25 and 12 with 3 blocks and he's able to make plays out of the post and he's just this mammoth mountain of a man that you're just like, you just kind of live with it, right? It's always a possibility, right? And like I said, I do think he's a guy that right out the gate could be, a 15 and 10 guy. Obviously, it depends on how many touches he gets, depends on the type of role that he gets, the minutes. There's several factors that go into it. But Ware, I think, is a guy that, he can help out the gate, makes more sense long term. But also, I think Ware would fit better now than Zach Edey would. right? And the reason I believe that is because, again, Zach Edey is incredibly talented. But you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis who are going to get a majority in the bulk of the shots. Zach Edey, is he going to be able to produce enough for him to be able to stay on the court, right? Because I don't know if he's going to get the touches enough to stay on the court. And what else can he provide when he's not on the court? Obviously, rebounding is a big thing. But is he going to be able to move his feet enough on the defensive side or even on the offense side, be able to get out of the way, right? Because, having Zach Edey there, you basically are clogging up the paint. Right, he's got this big mammoth of a person. So is he going to be able to stretch the floor? And even if he's not like shooting the basketball, right? Does he become a liability even on the offensive side? Where, if you did, let's say you didn't have LeBron, or let's say you were in a rebuild process, and Zach Edey's getting 20 attempts per game or 15 attempts per game, then yeah, go with Zach Edey, because it's like, okay, he's going to get the touches, he's going to get the opportunity where he's going to have the impact to where it makes sense to keep him on the floor. Where a guy like Ware, on the other hand, he's not going to need the ball, and when he stretches the floor, right, and he basically moves out of the paint, he is a threat. I mean, he shot 43% from three-point range last season. Now, it was only on 40 attempts, but that's a really good sign, right? So you have a guy in Zach Edey who basically doesn't shoot threes at all, to a guy in Ware who he's more than capable of stepping out and knocking down the three. So you have to respect that. You have to step out. Now you can draw out the big man, where Zach Edey, you can't really draw out the big man, right? And if you, because the big man's like, if he's going to shoot it, let him shoot it, right? I'm just going to stay here and defend the rim, right? So then that becomes a problem. And I just think Ware would be more versatile on both the offense and defensive side. He would make the impact now, but he would also be the bigger upside player, to where he can learn and Anthony Davis can take him under his wing and be a guy to really develop and grow, right? He's the guy that I could see stepping out, defending out on the perimeter, defending in the pick and roll. Right, I could see him being a guy that could be the blindside help, but also be the recovery man, right? Like if he gets blown by, he has the lateral speed and quickness to get back to still challenge and defend the shot. Where if you kind of get around Zach Edey, he's, hey. It's like the Kevin Hart joke, the stand-up where he's like making fun of Shaq, like, like it's kind of how I feel about Zach Edey, right? So on the defensive side is where I think Ware would make a potential bigger impact. Now, that doesn't mean, I'm not saying that Zach Edey won't be a good defensive player, right? I mean, he's 7'4" with the 7'10" wingspan, right? I mean, you see, like with Victor Wembanyama, again, not comparing the two, just in the sense of their size and their length, right? The length is the real thing. Victor, even when he's not really, like, he's watching over here, that the ball handler has the ball, as soon as he even glances, they're going back the other way, or they're going around, right? Because he's so long and lengthy that players are like, I don't know if I can shoot over that, right? I mean, he's as tall as the rim when he's putting his arms up, right? So Zach Edey in that sense could be that. But again, teams are going to exploit his lack of mobility to where that could be a problem that the Lakers end up having. And Anthony Davis can't really stretch the floor anymore like he used to. I mean, in the 2020 season, Anthony Davis was lights out, right? So you can get away with that a little more, right? So, unless LeBron's shooting 40% from three, right? You have Anthony Davis and Zach Edey on the court. Neither can really shoot. Right, especially Zach Edey, where if you have Ware on the court alongside Anthony Davis, Ware can at least step out and shoot the basketball, right? So on the offensive side, again, I just think Ware is more versatile, again, on the defense, but also the offense side, because you can put him in more actions, right? Like, you can't do certain things with Zach Edey, right? Like, yes, he can be the screen man, but he's kind of more like, you can run the pick and roll, but the spot, like, can he get to the spots quick enough? Where he could do that, he's slipping the screen, and you have LeBron that could throw it up, or Austin or whomever, right? He's just going to be quicker getting to the spots. You're going to be able to set him as the roll man. He could be the off-ball cutter, right? He could be in the lob position, right? You can have him just be in multiple places on the basketball court, where somebody like Zach Edey, you can't really do some of that stuff. You're like, if you tuck him away in the corner, like, teams aren't going to worry about him slipping and getting behind you, and now he's a lob threat, right? Like, because one, he's not going to have the foot speed to just blow by guys, and two, he's so massive. If you don't see that, you need to be taken out of the game, right? Where, you could see Ware kind of be that guy that can make those slips and get to the basket. So I just think Ware, from an offensive and defensive standpoint, is just far more versatile, more important, and better for the modern NBA. You're seeing in these NBA finals, versatility is going a long way. In these playoffs, period, right? Versatility is going a long way, right? Like, you look at Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford, their ability to defend on the perimeter, their ability to defend at the rim, their ability to hit shots from the outside, their ability to knock down, a little 15-footer, right? The ability to make plays. They're much more versatile on both sides of the basketball, right? Even somebody like Naz Reid had such a good playoff run for Minnesota because, again, he's so versatile. He can step out and defend out on the perimeter. He can knock down the three ball. He can get to the rim, right? He can put the ball on the deck. Where I could see him being, worst case scenario, maybe a 7-foot Naz Reid, right? Which that would be. Imagine if we had Naz Reid on the Lakers, right? Like, imagine if he was actually 7 feet, right? So to me, I just think Ware is the more versatile, more dynamic player. That doesn't mean that he'll necessarily be better than Zach Edey. Again, Zach Edey, if given the right touches and opportunity, I could definitely see him being, a 2010 guy. But we've seen a lot of players with similar skill sets that more traditional big man really get phased out, right? And aren't able to last the way that they were, right? Like, it's just that versatility is so important and so impactful in today's NBA. I have my concerns about, will Edey be able to make that adjustment? Will he be a factor, or will he always just kind of be a backup big man playing, 20 minutes a game? Right? That's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, that could be you give me a guy that give me 15 off the bench, in 20 minutes of action, like, that's perfect. But, what will he look like as the starter, especially alongside Anthony Davis? I just like the pairing of Ware and AD now and long term. I just think the upside and potential is higher for Ware because, again, he's got, a 2-3 year, Edey has a 2-3 year head start as far as age goes, where Ware, he could develop the next 2 or 3 years into that kind of versatile guy. And Anthony Davis's skill set is closer and would be easier for Ware to mimic rather than Zach Edey to mimic. Because, again, Anthony Davis and his versatility and his ability to move. So I just think comparing the two, I think Ware is the no-brainer. I just think he's more versatile on both sides of the basketball. I think you can just do more. I think he's a guy that doesn't need the basketball, where Zach Edey is a guy that does need the basketball. And you're talking about, you have LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis. Edey is a guy that I think could have more of an impact now, right? I don't necessarily think Ware's a guy that could go and give you 15 to 20 immediately, right? Again, I look at him more as like Derek Lively on Dallas, where he's a guy that's giving you, like 8 and 8, somewhere in that ballpark, right? Maybe he's knocking down the occasional 3. He's a lob threat, a low man, whatever, right? So he's just kind of cleaning up stuff, right? He's more of the dirty work hustle guy, where Zach Edey is a guy that I think you could actually implement into your offense, make a bigger immediate impact now. But I just don't think he has the versatility, and I just could see him getting played off the court pretty heavily. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Or just somewhere in between? Would you choose Ware? Would you choose Edey? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.